Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's episode of Waxman Talks Aviation. And this week, well, there's really only going to be one topic that I'll be talking about, or going a little more in depth on, and that will be the 737 MAX 9 crisis that we have on our hands. So I'm going to tell you a little more about what we know. So, for those of you who do not know, the MAX 9 was grounded due to a plug door issue after a MAX 9 belonging to Alaska Airlines saw one of its doors fly out after takeoff from Portland, and the plane had to come back and land safely at Portland. So there's a bit more news coming out of this, and I'm going to read it to you quote by quote. Or, not quote by quote, but I'll just read a little bit. So, this is again according to the Seattle Times. The fuselage panel that blew off an Alaska Airlines jet earlier this month was removed for repair and then reinstalled, quote, improperly by Boeing mechanics on the Renton final assembly line. A person familiar with the details of the work told the Seattle Times. If verified by the NTSB in their investigation, this would leave Boeing primarily at fault for the accident rather than its supplier, which is Spirit Aerosystems, which originally installed the panel into the 737 MAX 9 fuselage in Wichita, Kansas. That panel, a door plug used to seal a hole in the fuselage, sometimes used to accommodate an emergency exit, blew out of Alaska Airlines 1282, Flight 1282, as it climbed out of Portland on January 5th. Okay. So basically what they have found is that mechanics at the final assembly in Renton, near Seattle, they took the wrong steps in installing the plug, or a few screws so from what I read, to be more specific, there were a few screws that are used to install the plug into place. From what I'm hearing, there was at least, I think, 4 screws that were not installed when the plug went back in, or they didn't tighten it down with enough screws. So, big misstep on Boeing's part, and of course, I'm sure those mechanics will, they're living with that. But hey, don't blame the mechanics. You got to blame Boeing. You know what? If one person fails, then the whole company fails. You know what? And that's on management for at least not checking that one more time to make sure that it had been done right. Instead, they said of checking the plug right, making sure that it was properly installed. I think Boeing just let it go, even though the mechanics knew, and even though the mechanics had not properly installed it, some management should have been on that and should have looked for that and to make sure that it was. And it speaks volumes about the big problem at Boeing, and that is quality control. So, once again, there's just no management checking each and every one of these 737 MAXs that are coming out of Renton and being delivered to the airlines. I mean, speed is efficiency, time. I mean, they are not taking their time to make sure they are set up right. Some people are calling it quality escapes, but I think that's bullcrap. That's mishaps, quality control mishaps, pretty much, and just nobody is keeping their eye on this process and making sure that these planes are coming. Nobody's taking the time to make sure these planes are set up right for the airlines. And what's going on as a result is now airlines have had to check their MAX fleets and make sure they are set up correctly. They've had to do the work that Boeing should have done in the first place. So there's that. So from what I understand, so that's some of the latest news I can tell you. So right now, the investigation is not complete, okay? The NTSB is still looking into this, as well as the FAA. But right now, as things stand, it's looking like Boeing's at fault, which, who could be surprised? I mean, the culture of this company is very problematic, and quality control has been a huge, huge issue for this company. And not just with the 737, but the 787 has had issues. Planes that have been coming off those assembly lines in Renton have not been firmly checked over to make sure everything is right. Take your time. Okay? I mean, I know it's a high pressure, the market is high pressure and all that stuff, and you want to get planes on time. Especially now, United Airlines, from what I understand, has advertised that they have a plane being delivered each day. One new plane per day being delivered. Well, now that's not looking so good because these planes are being delivered too fast. Like they're not being looked at or examined thoroughly through every little detail, every little speck, including the plugs that go into those doors. And by the way, for those of you who do not, from what I understand too, the problem is not just with the Max series, but the previous generation of 737s, the next gens as they are called, especially the 900 extended range. Those are having to be pulled out of service and looked at. And as far as I know, just almost every airline in the United States, and that includes Delta Airlines, have 737-900 extended ranges, or the next 900 next as part of the next gen family. So those have had to be pulled from service to be checked. And all that stems is back to the quality control issues of Boeing. And you know what? It's disappointing to see such a great company with a great history look like this as of right now. And you know what? It's their fault because they continue to choose profits over safety. And based on the problems that they are having right now, and with that incident with the Alaska Airlines Max 9, I don't think Boeing has learned I don't think they've learned their lessons at all, or any lessons, from the Max crisis of 2019, which led to the grounding of the Max for almost 2 years. So I don't think anything has changed. The culture is the big issue at Boeing, and when you got a culture problem, that leads to a workforce problem as well. And other news surrounding it, and folks, it gets worse. From what I'm hearing, Alaska Airlines, as well as perhaps United, is beginning to prepare their MAX 9s for flight again. So, from what I'm hearing, at the very least, I've heard Alaska is clearing their MAX 9s for flight again. They're starting to return them back into service again. And that worries me. That's scary. I think they're going way too quick with this. We need to be checked. I think there's more checks that need to be, and I think they need to wait until this investigation is complete so we know all the details before you send the MAX 9 back into service. Let's just hope that Alaska knows what they're doing, and that Alaska Airlines, that's who I'm referring to, I just hope that they know what they're doing, and that they are not putting this plane, which has had issues, back into service way too quickly. I know that the cancellations, the costs of the cancellations are adding up, and that does not help, and it adds pressure, but safety should always be, in the aviation industry, safety is the most important thing. Got to keep our passengers safe. We got to make sure that every little thing about these planes has been checked, and once so, and checked properly and in a well-mannered way, then we can get the MAX back into service, MAX 9 back into service, and any other variants. And these problems have also had a few more other consequences. Well, or has led to other airlines being really angry. Most notably, Boeing's biggest customer, United Airlines. So United, they are frustrated. They're pissed. They are not happy about this, to the point where there are articles that are reporting that they are looking into potentially canceling their MAX 10 order. Or at the very least, our other MAX order. So United Airlines is the biggest customer of the 737 MAX, besides Southwest, of course. But from what I can understand, they're looking into canceling their order for the MAX 10. And a lot of that due to quality control, to the problems with Boeing. Now, if they do cancel that MAX 10 order, that opens the door for Airbus. Like, Airbus could swoop on in there, and United, we could see, it's quite possible that United could place in more orders for the Airbus A321neo, which is a phenomenal aircraft. They've got an order for 70 of those, and some of those have been delivered, but they could add more to that fleet if this fiasco with the MAX continues, and United's not satisfied at all. But now, for the record, do I think this is going to happen? I don't think so. I think this whole articles that have been published, that's just United expressing their frustrations towards Boeing, much like Alaska Airlines. And I think what they're trying to do is hold Boeing accountable and trying to get them to do better, or maybe come force Boeing to come to the table and reduce the prices on their orders so they can save more money. Because that's how Boeing has gotten a lot of these orders. And by the way, that's how they got an order with Delta. They got a deal done with Delta for the MAX 10 by reducing the price significantly. And if I'm Delta or if I'm Ed Bastian of Delta, I'd be reconsidering the MAX 10 deal that they just signed with Boeing. For the record, the MAX 10 has been going through flight testing for its certification. But as we know right now, the MAX 10 has yet to be certified, along with the MAX 7. Neither one has been certified yet. And deliveries for the MAX 10, especially for Delta, as far as I know, are supposed to start next year in 2025. So, clock's ticking. And you know what? If they don't get it certified at a certain point, it would not surprise me to see Ed Bastian and Delta Airlines cancel their order for the MAX 10. Now, United Airlines, I think they're still going to go forward with that MAX 10 order because they're a big Boeing customer. Everybody, we all know that, and I think they've got faith in Boeing. They just want to hold them accountable. And you could say that in private, United is pretty much chewing out Boeing or kicking their ass in private. Tell them, hey, get your crap together. Get it together. Fix this problem, please. We're counting on you to do better. So, honestly, it's baffling to me to see Boeing in such a mess. A company with a great history, made a lot of great planes, the 747, the original 737s, all that stuff. A lot of great planes, even the B-17 Flying Fortress. This historical company is hitting one of its lowest points in history, especially just after their 100th year. And all of it, and you know what? Management's to blame. When you got accountants in charge instead of engineerings, this is what you get, pretty much. You get all sorts of problems because you're focused more on selling as many planes as possible than you are on the quality of these planes and making sure that they are well built and built well for the airlines so that and built as reliable as possible so the airlines can use them for many years. So, we've seen, so like I said, Alaska and United all pissed off at Boeing behind doors, doing everything they can to hold Boeing accountable. Now, I don't think United's going to cancel their MAX 10 order. I think they're still going to go through with it. I just think they're expressing their frustration. They're trying to put some heat on Boeing and let them know, hey, not happy at all. You guys, come on, get your shit together. Do better, Boeing. And you know what? I used to be a Boeing, and you know what? There was a point where I really was a Boeing guy, more so than I was an Airbus guy. Now I'm more of an Airbus guy because Airbus focuses way more on quality right now than Boeing does, and it's disappointing. So between Europe and the United States, it's no contest right now. Airbus has the edge over Boeing, and it shows. Europe is kicking our ass right now in the commercial aviation market, especially the narrow body market, which is very, very key. So, I hope Boeing gets it together. I really do hope they get it together. But right now, things are not looking promising for Boeing. But these are just some of my thoughts right now on what's going on, some of the updates to the MAX 9 crisis. So, I hope these airlines aren't putting their MAX 9s into service way too soon. And you know what? All this, with Boeing potentially being found at fault for what happened with the Alaska Airlines MAX 9. The thing that worries me is if the MAX crisis that started in 2019, if that didn't send a message to Boeing, I worry nothing will. Or at the very least, until they get new management, the culture of Boeing is just looks really toxic and really bad right now. And it's not good to see. Alright, ran over. Alright, sports fans, used to do my wax on Wednesday. Alright, for those of you who are watching this video, who love aviation, that is all I got for this week. And, hey, just a heads up, if you guys got any questions about any aviation-related questions, leave them below in the comments. I'll try to answer that. I love talking about aviation. And I hope to talk more about it and interact with you aviation fans more about this stuff. So, you got a question, leave it, aviation related question, leave it below, and I'll try to answer it in next week's video. All right, that's all I got for this week in Waxman Talks Aviation. Just want to say thank you all for watching, and Jake Waxman signing out.